Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining today. If this is your first time to visit the channel, I'm Reagan Sonnabend. I'm a small business owner, real estate investor, and corporate housing operator. Today, I am in the very festive office of Andy Gurczak at AllCity Adjusting. Welcome, Andy. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank you, Reagan. Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming to our little office here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. I was actually really excited to learn about this. It's been a couple years ago now, but Andy and I originally met when I had water damage in my home. But since then, we've had the opportunity to collaborate, bounce ideas off one another, learn from each other. We haven't had an opportunity to partner yet, but I feel like you just never know.
It's coming.
It's
It's
coming.
coming.
Yeah, there you go. Great minds think alike and entrepreneurship and all that good stuff. But what I remember about the property that we're sitting in is, as I mentioned, Andy and I had started kind of collaborating over time about real estate investing in particular. And he had sold a property, decided to do a 1031 exchange, and then ended up with the building that we're sitting in. Tell us a little more about that, how that came to be.
Yeah, so as the company has grown every year, we got to a point where we had a building. It was in downtown Crown Point, Indiana here,
Mhm.
and it just got too small for us. So we were looking for a new building, nothing for sale. We actually came here. There was 2,500 square feet to rent. That's how I actually met Steve and Jim. They showed us the property, and when I explained that we were kind of interested in buying, we really don't want to rent. They said, "Well, we actually know the owner. Let's reach out to the owner." And so the next day they came back and said the owner would like to sell. Here is the amount. Would you like to buy it? And we said, heck yeah, we want to buy the entire building. The price was good. So then we had time since it was an off market. We had a duplex that we bought. Actually, it was our second property when we moved to Indiana. And we 1031 that one into this property. And then obviously we put our office in here. And I think I just mentioned to you now that we actually have another property that we're going to be converting to our new office because this got kind of too small for us. So we just keep growing and outgrowing our spaces, which is a good thing.
That's
So we
amazing.
just keep buying properties because we need them.
I
So
love
it
it.
works out.
It works out. And then, so you're not the only tenant here, though. You have other tenants,
We
correct?
have, I think, 6 or 7 tenants. So the entire building is approximately 13,000 square feet.
Wow, that's
So yeah,
amazing.
so everything's fully occupied. I know yesterday we actually cameraed the whole place, so it's ready. If we do leave this space, that we can start listing it and getting it for rent. So
Oh my
we do have
gosh.
really good tenants. The hospital's right here, so we
Um,
have two doctors. We actually have a government agency, an accountant, finance person. So yeah, very good mix of tenants. And then we take care of the property. We just did the parking lot. We put a porch, like a concrete patio, so people can go out and sit
yeah.
outside. We always put cameras on our building.
Yep.
So we take care, and obviously our tenants can see that. So we want to make sure everyone is enjoying and the building's being upkept.
I love it. Well, to me, that is such a great kind of a little bit of a right turn from how we originally met and kind of the primary focus of what I know people will find really interesting. But I love the fact that as an entrepreneur, you're not just locked into your area of expertise, but kind of things along the periphery, which is kind of how you ended up having this amazing building available. So, again, going back to how we originally met, it was when I had water damage in my home. And then, of course, since then, my work has changed. I've, become more involved in my real estate investing and then really had a primary focus on midterm rentals. So there's a really close connection. But understanding what you do, there are a couple of different aspects of it that I think are interesting that I want to kind of focus some questions on. Is number one, public adjusting in general and how you work with clients, how you help them. But beyond that, one of the things I think is really interesting about the way you operate is the fact that you tend to do these large claims. And so when there are natural disasters that happen, instead of, going where the exodus is happening and people are evacuating, you're going literally into the eye of where the storm hit in the middle of all that mess that really looks like a war zone a lot of times. So let's start talking just generally how you and how public adjusters work and help the public. And then let's talk a little bit more about that disaster recovery side of things.
Correct. So public adjuster is a designated license by each state
Mhm.
that licenses public adjusters, which is majority of them.
Mhm.
And as we license in one state, then we reciprocate, and now I think we're in 41 states that our company covers, or 42.
Wow.
Madeline would know better. But we grew with our investors. So as our investors, we started here, in Illinois, then Indiana, and as our investors started buying properties, we kind of followed them to the states they were because they had claims in other
Mhm.
states. But a public adjuster is a licensed representative that can represent the insured against the insurance company. And a lot of people don't know when we talk, they're like, well, I've never heard of a public adjuster. Well, there's a reason because first of all, you've never expected to have a claim. So why would you hear about us? It's not like you're looking us up or
Right.
all people know is when they have a claim that they have the adjuster working for the insurance company, the agent, like everyone that works for the insurance. So when we kind of, I think when we discussed it with you as well, and you saw it firsthand, was everyone's working for the insurance company, right?
Right.
They're looking out on the bottom, and if you think for a second that they have your interest or you're like they're gonna take care of you, you're three. I mean, you couldn't be completely from the truth. So we represent the insured. Our entire goal, to say the easiest, is to get our clients paid. And it used to be just getting them paid, make sure they get paid for each coverage, they get paid the right amount, the full amount as whatever they're owed, right? But now it's been more of even making sure their claims don't get denied. Because the
Sure.
claim process is getting to a point where they're looking for stuff to delay the claim even further, ultimately deny it. So we really now it's even more important to hire a public adjuster, whether it would be our company or another one. Even we always explain that to people, like, hey, even if there's something maybe about our company you don't like or us personally, hire someone because it will be so beneficial to you in the long run. And obviously, you saw firsthand what happened with your claim.
For sure. I mean, it's amazing. And, I think the thing that's, we all have insurance, and I sometimes find it staggering when I think collectively what I pay for various types of policies, various lines, but over a period of time, I mean, we are all paying a lot for insurance.
Correct.
And so, you are entitled to certain things. And I think to your point, insurance companies have, lawyers, they have adjusters, they have, so many different people that are all in their corner. And yes, you're their client, and yes, we're pooling risk. But in order to be 100% sure that you're, getting everything you're entitled to, you have to have someone that has your side on that. So I really think it's an important role that many people don't know about. And great if you've never had to have a claim. That was the first claim I'd ever had, after all the decades of, paying for insurance. And, since then, it really opened my eyes to, this is something we're paying for, we're entitled to. And, certainly no one's wanting to take advantage. We know that when claims happen, it all collectively, causes rates to go up for everyone. That's the way it works. But at the same time, like you said, just the different coverages alone is just knowing that. And I remember I felt like I got really educated through the process when you came in and started kind of showing us about things.
It's a daunting process. The policy is very long. There's a lot of language. It's all ambiguous. It could go both ways. Um, I don't think like maybe 1% of people actually know their policies or actually know what coverage they have or what they're covered for. Most people don't even get a copy of their policy no more. I mean, that's the first thing we ask for is a copy of the policy. Some people might have the deck page, as we call it, which is like a two-page paper just showing your limits, but it doesn't actually have all the exclusions, endorsements, what to do when a claim. So, something that's important in a policy is duties after a loss. What to do after you have a claim. Well, if you don't have the policy, how would you know what to do?
Sure.
So then claims when we get calls in sometimes, and it's like, well, we got our claim denied, and we look why? Well, they denied you because you didn't do stuff after duties after loss because you were supposed to perform these things. But how would you know if you never had a copy of the policy?
Well, and as you were saying that, I mean, I remember back to ours, and somewhere along the way, I'd heard someone say, "Be really careful, take a lot of pictures, because you can actually destroy evidence if you don't know
Correct.
what you're doing." And unfortunately, I did get a lot of pictures right away, but I think even no matter what you do, you're probably not going to do it perfectly. But I was really thankful later that there were, so many photos that helped document, and even, once the insurance's own restoration folks come in, that's further, eliminating some of the evidence of actually what took place that
Correct.
would help you backtrack and try to understand. And I know the cause is often really important when it comes to water and probably other aspects as well. But so if you were thinking, just from a high level of, your average person, investor, whatever the case may be, investors even more than your average person, because the more properties you have, you have statistically a much higher chance of having a loss or a large loss at some point. So if you were to think of the top, 3 or 5 things, like, these are the things you need to do, you need to educate yourself when a loss happens, what's your first call? What would some of
Yeah.
those things be?
Number one was if you haven't done already, you should have a public adjuster. Like you should have discussed it with someone or you should call someone and get some references and call public adjusters to actually handle your losses. Public adjusters don't just handle every claim. Some say they handle everything. Make sure it's specific to yours. Like we specifically handle fire and then some water claims. That's how hence your came in. We don't really do wind and hail. I mean, not at all. We don't do any exterior. So we specialize in fire. So if someone was to call and said, we had a windstorm blow up our shingles, we're probably not the best. We're not the team for you.
Okay.
We like to be honest. We're good at fires and we're good at water claims. That's why we built a whole team. That's what we're good at. So that would be my number one. But if you're gonna say, hey, I'm gonna, maybe you don't know and you're watching this after, first is say as little as possible. Right? A lot of people get in trouble, and we're not saying lie. Don't misrepresent something. Don't say. Just stop talking. A lot of people say too much, and they start going into their history of what happened the last 2 years and 3 years with their personal life and everything. Everything is being recorded.
Right.
Everything gets handed into to the next adjuster. Red flags go up, and all of a sudden your claim's getting delayed and now denied because you said stuff not because you want to. People are just say too much. So like when our clients go under examination, like not even examination at all, just SIU, or they're just getting a call with an adjuster, we always say say as little as possible, and the best answer is I don't know.
Right.
Give yourself time to think of an answer. Don't just come up with anything. Say I don't know.
And don't speculate.
Don't speculate because when we get hired, the burden of proof is on the insured, right? That's so people understand. The burden of proof is on the insured. It's the insured's burden to prove the loss. When we get hired, the burden gets handed to us. Okay. So we take all of our communication. So we will tell our clients now the communication goes through us. So if you get contacted by an adjuster, you shouldn't from the insurance company, but if you do, make sure you put them straight towards us. Because then we take over the communication, and then we can figure out how to answer questions properly, not on the spot, but actually think about them logically and answer them the right way.
Sure.
So be careful, say as little as possible, and the best answer is I don't know. Set the reserves high enough. What I mean by reserves, every company, once you have a claim, set it reserves. So usually whether it's the person, some insurance companies are different than others. For the bigger carriers, when they call you, they're going to ask questions. What's damage? How big's the claim? What they're trying to do is set an amount of reserves for this claim. Right? This is important. If you say, well, we just had a fire in one bedroom. Oh, okay. Anything else damaged? No, just a little light smoke. They might set that reserve for $50,000. Now, if we come in and that claim is $150,000, to go over that $50,000 reserve is going to go through 3 managers, months of delays, because they're going to say, well, why was it reserved for $50,000? This claim is $150,000.
Got it.
So you want to definitely be, not say, hey, the house exploded, but be accurate. We think there's a lot of damage. So this wall, we think you just say that we don't know, but we think it's a big claim. There's a lot of damage, and you just want to set those reserves high enough so then at least it's easier to work that claim.
Sure.
And they assign the right adjuster.
Oh,
so don't undervaluate your damage. But it's hard to do when you don't do it. You don't know if there's smoke behind the walls.
Right.
So it is a hard thing to do, but a lot of people do that. Another one is with the talking. Be careful what words you use. Right. Mold not covered. My water's been running or water's been leaking for a couple days. If I'm a person taking that call, leaking for a couple days, that's not covered because it's leaking. It wasn't a sudden rupture. So you have to be careful what words you use, and that goes back to talking as little as possible and saying. And the best answer is I don't know, because using words like mold, water backed up. Oh, you don't have water backup coverage. Like your claim was a burst. It was a burst pipe, correct?
It was a toilet overflow.
Toilet overflow, correct. But soft clog. Remember that? Mm-hmm. It was a soft clog. Now, if that went under water backup, I think your limit was 15. Like it would have been only 15,000, right? I forgot whatever the limit was. Mm-hmm. But because it's soft clog and that goes under the main coverages that are covered under your homeowner's policy, there was full limits applied. Huge difference.
Huge difference.
So that's another one. And then just be careful of your surroundings in terms of the claim, because you will get a call from the adjuster, the agent, his friends, his contractors, everyone is looking out for the insurance company and their money. And that's something to be careful. So board up the property, be careful, take your time. Take your time, do your assessment. Don't be in a rush, because I know the insurance adjusters and the mitigation are going to say, well, you got to come in, we got to mitigate, we have to. No. In the right time. Mitigation means that you board up the house after a fire, not that you go and start demoing and cleaning it out and start getting rid of the evidence. So you have to be careful.
For
So
sure.
those are I don't know how many things I mentioned, but there's a lot. There's a lot of things to watch out for. That's why you hire a professional to kind of do it for you. So hopefully, if anyone's watching that ever has a claim, that they do the right thing. They actually call a public adjuster and get someone to represent them.
100%. That is such great wisdom. And, hopefully you don't have a need for this, but if you do, you can't go back and unsay something you've said,
Correct.
or like you said,
Oh, it's
just kind of
recorded.
reserved. Yeah.
We've had claims that have been denied that they were like looking at why we're denied, and we get a transcript of the examination or of just the discussion with the adjuster, and it says there, oh, you said you weren't actually living at the property, you've been gone for 90 days. There's the vacancy clause of 60, right? You said it. They have it recorded. There's nothing we can do now. No
Yeah.
attorney's going to overturn that. Nothing.
So thinking about what you do, and I honestly had not really thought about this until this conversation, but I think one of the things that's really interesting and unique about public adjusters is you're kind of like part attorney. I mean, you're not an attorney, but there's a legal aspect, but then part construction, like you said, talking about, like finding where all of the damage is, not missing damage that's hidden, going behind the, drywall to see what's there that you might not know to look at otherwise. And I can remember in our own process, there was definitely some of that where you've got hidden damage. So bringing all of that together to really help make sure that insureds get everything they're entitled to, that's a really massive responsibility.
And that's hiring the right public adjuster and the right team for your claim, right?
Mhm.
We specialize. I was in construction pretty my entire early life, and then the policy language and everything interpreting policies, like, because basically we say we're kind of like a pre-attorney, like
Mhm.
we're not taking them to trial, we're not doing anything, and we don't say we're attorneys, but we are handling everything in terms of that claim, negotiating the policy. We can
Mhm.
negotiate the policy, discuss the policy language, negotiate the claim. But for example, in our team, that years of experience I had being mentored by someone who did this for 40 years,
Mhm.
that construction knowledge and that put together, obviously that's just myself, right? But then you
Mhm.
have, for example, one of my other PAs, Adrian, who spent 20 years running restaurants. So when it comes to commercial claims in business, I mean, he inside out has been through them himself.
Sure.
Our top estimator spent 20 years with the largest carrier doing large fire claims.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've just built a team and then people in office that worked for insurance companies. So that's the knowledge, knowing the back end and working for an insurance and selling insurance and doing claims is 360 difference.
Mhm.
The claim side is a side that not many people see.
Mhm.
So it's that's why the important of how tricky this process is and how daunting and how everything's stacked against you.
Mhm.
It even makes it more of getting someone, especially that fits your situation, fits your claim, that can handle it
That makes
properly.
sense. It's funny because I remember I reached out to you after it was like a hail situation, and
Correct.
you're like, yep, we don't do that kind of claim. And so, immediately I got to someone that does handle that type of claim. And I know when it comes to that, and I learned this one through experience too, is that, a lot of roofing and exterior companies, they do that. And,
Correct.
that's a part of what they do. They're not quite as specialized because they, of course, have an agenda. They're getting business out of it.
Correct.
But, it's a different animal. So I'm thinking about, kind of what you were saying a bit here, and also what I've learned, over the time we've known each other. So I know that whenever there's a large natural disaster, a lot of times you'll end up just going there and being there
Correct.
for weeks at a time. And I know that there's also like this whole like cottage industry of adjusters that, maybe they do work for the insurance companies on contract when things like that happen. So for myself and for others, I mean, I've had a little bit of exposure to it, but I haven't been through that experience. Walk us through what that looks like, or even like the wildfires in California, where you've got something large scale. Like, how do you even, number one, you're going right in the middle of that situation. I don't know where you sleep, where you stay, in your truck, maybe, whatever that looks like. But you've had those experiences that are so different. What would you share with
Yeah.
folks?
So because of the size of our company and where we grow now and our portfolio of clients, we're obviously handling fires in all these states. So we're traveling state to state. When it comes to disasters, and the last one we did, we deployed. I remember we were first of all, when it's a natural disaster like parasites, you're going to be located much further away, right?
Right.
Insurance company is just sending boots on the ground at this point,
Mhm.
right? So whatever cat adjusters they can get and to explain to your listeners, there's for insurance companies there's a staff adjuster. That's someone who works directly for the insurance company, right?
Okay.
They get their W-2. Then there is an independent. That's they're they're 1099. They're
Okay.
working for an independent company,
Okay.
and they're a subcontractor for the insurance companies.
Okay. Got it.
And over the last, 10, 15, 20 years, more and more insurance companies have gone to the independents.
Oh, okay.
Why? Well, because when you have a staff adjuster and a W-2 employee, you're paying him bonuses, you're paying retirement insurance, right?
Right.
When you hire independents, you're just paying them as a subcontractor.
Sure.
So that's where they have gone. So as these IAs come in, they get paid per the claim, usually per inspection, proposed per an estimate. So their interest really is the quicker they can submit something,
Mhm.
the quicker they get paid, and the quicker they're on to the next one.
Okay.
So when they're sending them to a large disaster, you have to remember they're going in trying to write up as quickly as possible an estimate, just like it was your situation.
Mhm.
There was a cat adjuster. He had an insurance logo and stuff, but he works for independent. Wrote an estimate as quickly as possible, and he's up to the next one, and then he collects his fee. And so when we come in, it's first of all, it takes so long for a large loss, whether it's natural disaster or fire, whatever it is. It's such a time consuming project. Even for your claim, that wasn't the biggest claim. It was just a loss that happened on the second floor, carried to the first floor basement. But to document everything, to build the file, to build an estimate. So, that's the difference where we're coming in and really taking our time and building a file to submit to actually get everything paid for our clients, whereas the insurance companies come in and it's kind of let's go as quickly as possible.
Right. I remember the paperwork was overwhelming and a lot of supplements coming back.
Correct.
Like I can remember things that you didn't think about. Like when you have to replace the kitchen cabinets, then almost by definition, I think you have to replace the countertop. Well, you take the countertop off and it broke. So then now you got new granite, all these things. And it's like you can't really know exactly how all of
Correct.
that's going to go until you get into it. So that's a normal part of the process.
Normal part. And you're trying to get, in our situation, we're trying to get everything up front and try to think of that stuff, right?
Right.
If we see there's a crack by the sink on a granite, we know
Mhm.
most likely that's going to crack, right? If
Mhm.
there's a long piece or a skinny piece, you can, again, from the construction experience I have,
Mhm.
totally, that's like we could pre-tell what's going to happen or how it's going to look to put everything back to pre-loss. But insurance companies now tend to say, well, once it does happen, send us a photo, then we'll pay for it.
Mhm.
That's the route they go to, and that's how your
Mhm.
situation was.
Mhm.
Um, but the natural disasters that's a different scenario because when we're handling fires locally in different states, usually insurance companies will still send staff adjusters, like local actually insurance, like they work for them. It's
Okay.
very rare, but for those large claims, we're dealing with local adjusters most of the time. Whereas for large scale losses, because I think when your thing happened, there was a time to either it was frozen pipes or something. I remember and they were sending out cat adjusters from different states that come into a certain state. They're called cat adjusters. Those
Mhm.
independent, that's what they call them, catastrophe adjusters. They come out of state.
Mhm.
They're coming in, writing an estimate, and leaving as soon as possible, getting
Mhm.
paid. So knowing that and knowing how the insurance company looks at stuff, um, even at a total loss when they're claiming that this is a total loss. Well, what's the total loss? Are you actually going to pay everything up front, or are you going to pay a certain amount to hold back money because you want to kind of hold on money and hope they don't repair the building. So a total loss doesn't actually mean a total loss
Mhm.
unless they've actually paid the full replacement cost.
Ah.
A lot of angles because we could probably sit. I know we have a time. We could probably sit and talk about this for days. I mean,
Yeah.
it's after it's been 11 years we've been incorporated. I was in this 3 years with my mentor, so 14 years. I don't think there's been a day where something's happened where it's like, oh yeah, I remember a situation, a claim, or something similar. It's always different. Every policy is different. Every adjuster is different. So there's always something different happening, and every
Sure.
claim gets handled on its own merit.
And, I wish I could remember now. So, of course, you came and also spoke at my workshop back in January where I was teaching people about midterm rental. And I can remember it was like record scratch after you got started, like people started having all these different questions. And I think you really opened up people's eyes and minds to not only what to do in the event that you have a claim, but also really thinking long and hard about the coverage you have
Before.
before a claim happens. And, I think that's so important. And so I don't remember what those things were now, but it was interesting because I knew people were going to love, what you were presenting on, but what was unexpected was just the way that the conversation went. So you're absolutely right. I could imagine that, and of course we all, have our areas of expertise, but there's just so many unexpected, unpredictable things that happen. And just the fact that you and this amazing team that you have, coming from these different areas of expertise, like you mentioned, you've got someone that, has done restaurants. You have to have lived it and know it to really be able to peel back all the layers of the onion to make sure that someone is truly getting everything that they're entitled to.
Yeah, and that's an awesome, that's great. And then you've mentioned in there the pre, like just opening people's eyes to pre-fire, pre-claim,
Mhm.
right? 'Cause a lot of people don't understand their policies, and it's sad when we get a call
Mhm.
and they've been denied or something's happened because they didn't understand their policy.
Right.
You had a friend investor reach out, and they're going into Airbnb short term in Florida, and they sent me the policies, and I said these are great if this was a second home for you guys.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
you did tell me this was going to be an Airbnb. Yeah. Okay. Well, both policies, if something happens, you're not covered
Oh, wow.
because
Okay.
our second home policies, not Airbnb policies,
Got it.
right? Not short-term rental. Rental, short-term rental, different.
Yep.
So people,
100%.
again, people don't understand. So they had to go back different agencies because those two carriers didn't even sell second like Airbnb short-term rental policies.
And I've learned that myself from insuring properties, and you're 100% right. Like, even, for midterm rentals, usually there's not a difference, but there are many policies will not cover short-term rentals. And even within that arena, I've found that there are a lot that will cover as short as 7 days. And so you have to make sure that the policy covers all of
Yep.
those things. And it also makes me think of different transactions I've been involved in where fix and flip policies, like if a
Yep.
property is going to be vacant for a certain amount of time, and you mentioned that in passing a minute ago. But there are so many things that you need to really understand in order to be fully and properly covered.
And most people don't, and agents don't explain.
No.
And it's not a hit on the agents or anything. I know I have a lot of friends from that are agents, and a lot of agents refer work to us. They can't say they do, which is sad, but they can't. But they refer work to us all the time. Um, but they don't get the education anymore. They don't actually get the full policies. They don't know the policies they're
Mhm.
actually selling. They just know the premiums. They know the coverages more or less. But when you actually peel the layer and go on that next page and the next page, and you have all these endorsements and then the exclusions. That 60-day exclusion, a lot of people
Mhm.
don't know about. The
Mhm.
most policies, if your property is vacant for more than 60 days, the claim is not covered. So think
Wow.
about that. You go on vacation, maybe you're traveling Europe. You're gone for 3 months. Come back, big water loss, everything's flooded. The insurance company, you tell the insurance, yeah, I was in Europe for 3 months. Because you just don't know, right? That's
Right.
talking to you just don't know. I was in Europe, we were traveling with my wife for 3 months. Okay, great, great. Okay, great, great. And the next week you get a letter. You've been denied. Property has been vacant more than 60 days.
Uh,
And
that's brutal.
and that's just we're just talking about one example. We
Right.
could go into 100. There's just so many in every policy. Again, commercial, business, homeowners, rental, just
Mhm.
different policies, short-term rentals. Every policy is different, and each policy has its own endorsements, exclusions, and each coverage. So it's hard to understand, and something we do is for our investors and landlords and business owners that we have, we always advise if you have a policy and you're purchasing a policy, send it to us
Mhm.
because just like we got the investor yesterday from Florida.
Mhm.
Send it to us. It's free. We're all glad. Anyone in here is glad to take a look at that policy and give advice and give us our 2 cents on what's covered, what's not, if you're underinsured or overinsured or anything else like that.
Love that. That's amazing. Wow. I every time we talk, I there's new things that kind of, that I'm exposed to and that I learn, and That's really outstanding, and that you offer that service. I know you've done that for me
Yep.
before, which I really appreciate because I know it's time consuming. Thinking about, I know you essentially have almost nationwide coverage. So people that are watching are mostly from the United States. How can someone reach out to you if they want to contact you or AllCity Adjusting or whatever other content that you might have available for people to watch remotely?
Yeah. So anyone can Google us, AllCity Adjusting. They can type in Andy Gurczak. Hard to spell my last name. I'm not even gonna spell, but they can just type in AllCity Adjusting. AllCity is one word. They'll find all the videos and kind of educational stuff that we put on there because it is educational. But I for listeners that I or podcasters that I go on, I leave my personal line. This is my literally my phone number. If anyone wants to call, it's 708 655 4186 708 655 4186. That's my cell phone. Until I get so many calls that I can't take it, I'll give it away. If anyone has a question, and people actually do take advantage, or they'll send me a text, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to discuss anything: previous claims, new claims, policies, anything like that.
Thank you. That's amazing. I mean, and most of the audience is investors. So again, more likelihood. I know that
Yeah.
you went with Jake to a property recently that I partner with,
Yeah.
and there's always a good chance that there's something. Now, talking about past claims, how far back can people go with a claim, generally speaking?
That's a great question. Now that depends, because let's say in your case, and I'll go back to your claim, you started the repairs, so you're like halfway done with the repairs. It'd probably be too late for us to get involved because you've now covered the evidence.
Okay.
So it depends. If it's been 2, 3 months, but nothing's happened, you're still fighting with insurance. Great. It could be half a year. It can be a year because most claims are up to 2 years.
Okay.
Just depending on the policy, depending on the state. So it could even be a year. You've been fighting with the insurance company. Maybe you got paid a little or paid nothing, but you haven't touched the house or touched the evidence. Then we can still get involved. So we never know because again, each claim we investigate. So when they call and Madeline takes the calls, and we kind of look at it and say, okay, can we still get involved in this? Is there anything? We just had a lady that just called it a very large fire, but they're 80% done with the repairs.
Oh.
And the contractor's 100,000 more than what the insurance paid.
Oh, brutal.
Nothing we can get involved with because we knew this was, when looking at the photos, this would have been a way bigger claim. But now that you've already insurance paid, you've already accepted it, you've done the repairs. Now it's going to be a fight. Well, now the contractor's going to charge you. You're 100,000 out of pocket, and you have to take that 100,000 now and fight with the insurance, even though you've done the repair. So that's a tough battle.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, we don't discourage anyone from calling. It's never a bad idea to call. But yeah, we'll make that determination kind of when we take it.
Got it. Well, and all the more reason to say, what you were saying earlier, that education piece and trying to kind of know on the front end, even getting the policy before a loss happens, but you can't be too careful. So hopefully
The quicker the
takeaway.
better. The quicker you call someone that knows what they're doing, a good public adjuster, the better.
Okay.
Right? Even if you don't hire them and get advice and kind of see how it goes, it's just
You learn a lot
you
along
learn
the
a
way.
lot, and that's stuff that most people will never know about and never heard before because they've never been in this situation.
Sure. Wow. Amazing. Well, I hope this helps some of you. Feel free to reach out to Andy or myself if we can help anyway. Thank you again for making time. I know how busy you are, so I'm really thankful to have
Anytime
an
for you,
opportunity.
and I'm glad you're here. Yeah. So thank you for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. All right. Thanks, everyone. Come join us again and watch some other educational content going forward.